Alright, so in this video I will go through how you can improve your diet so that it improves your business as well. I've had a focus of a 5-year-old and I will go over basically 5 tips that can help you go from being like super mentally fatigued all the time to having perfect mental clarity at all times, because I know that a lot of people do not have this. They struggle their way through school, through work, or through their business, and they don't really have like that great of a focus. They need to put in more hours than they actually need to put in. And my goal is to share the information that has worked for me to improve my focus, that has improved the level of mental clarity and focus that I have. So let's get into it. So basically, if you're using your willpower at all times, you will drain a lot of your focus. It was a study that was conducted between one group and another group. You probably heard of this, the marshmallow test. So one of the groups had a radish in front of them, the other group had a marshmallow in front of them. Both groups were told that they shouldn't eat it and they will get one more. They will get another marshmallow, or they will get like one other radish. And of course, the marshmallow is really tasty and people want to eat the marshmallow. So what happened? Well, they wanted to eat the marshmallow, and those who didn't, they resisted. They used their willpower and they got their second marshmallow, right? After they had gone through this tribulation, let's say, they had another task. You see, they needed to solve a puzzle after this was done. So either the radish group and the marshmallow group had to do the exact same task afterward. They found out that the ones who had the marshmallow test in front of them performed way worse. Because of this, their focus was worse. They simply didn't perform as greatly. And this, they found out, was because of their willpower. Their willpower was just drained after they had to resist this marshmallow, right? Because most people aren't really great at having great willpower. This just says a lot about what is actually the case with this kind of grind and work 16 hours per day and like do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Of course, you should do that, but the thing is that you need to kind of optimize anyways. Whenever you have a diet that is consisting, or you have a lifestyle that is consisting of you eating out a lot, you having like a bunch of candy in your kind of in your kitchen, right? You're going to have this kind of constant drain of your willpower, which is going to make you more fatigued. This is why you need to implement certain structures and systems inside of your kind of lifestyle that you can just follow regularly. I actually met a guy at the gym yesterday, and he said that he has been eating the same meal since September, and now it's like May or something like that, I think. Yeah, it's the 7th of May, and he's been eating the same meal since September. And I asked him, like, oh, what do you think about that? Like, how isn't that kind of boring? I said to him. Well, he said, no, it's actually quite convenient because I don't really have to think about like what kind of food that I'm making every single day. You know, I have ground beef, I have tomato sauce, I have some cheese, and I have some rice every single day basically, and I have some eggs as well, he said. And it was super convenient for him because he didn't have to think anything. He didn't have to use his willpower in any shape or form, and he could just focus everything on his business. So this is what I've started to do basically, and what I have been doing the last like 2 to 3 summers when I've really been locked in on my business because I have not had any school, right? So have the same meals basically every single day, and you will not be as drained. And I will write this down so that we all can remember. Same meals, same meals. I hope you like my writing style. Meals, and what more? Well, the study that I mentioned is really great if you can remember, because you can share it with your friends and you can remember it as well, you know. Because if you make these mental pictures of what is good and what is bad, you will succeed way faster, you know. And this just proves that building like systems and structures around your diet is the best thing. And this is another kind of system that I've recently implemented as well. And this is the second point. Fasting is BS. And for those who have been living under a rock, BS means bullshit. Fasting is bullshit in some ways. If you got no nutrients, that is. If you don't have any nutrients and you're trying to fast, what is even the point of fasting? Like, you're going to be mentally fatigued. You're not going to have any energy. You're just going to feel depressed. You're not going to have any focus anyways. Your body isn't going to like have any advantage. Like, it isn't going to have any healthy advantage if you're fasting and you don't have any nutrients, because your body isn't going to function properly. So what you need to be doing if you want to have great focus in the morning, like I'm fasting right now, except two things. I have coffee and I have coconut oil in the coffee. What you want to do when you're fasting, for everybody knows like fasting is great for your focus. Everybody knows that fasting is great for like a really focused work, and I'm fasting right now, as you might understand. You know, I'm filming this video. So you need to be so-called fat adaptive. Adaptive. I also think that it's called metabolically oh shit bolically flexible. Yeah, if you think I'm writing fast, you can speed up the video by a bit, like, you know, 1.25 or something like that, if you think it's going slow. And this is just for me to like go through every step in the most comprehensive manner as possible, so that I don't miss any information at all. I don't script these videos because I think they become way more authentic if I'm just speaking like this. Anyways, so fasting is BS if you don't have any nutrients. Why? Because you need to be fat adaptive when you are fasting. Having fat in your diet and like being metabolically flexible is going to allow your body to tap into your fat sources instead of like no energy sources at all, basically. Because when you are carb like adapted, you're eating a bunch of carbs every single day and you aren't metabolically flexible, you're basically going to have no energy in your fasts. So if you have fat in your fast and before your fast, right before you start your fast, you're going to be fine, bro, because having fat in your diet will supplement your fast. Basically, you're going to have more energy. Instead of burning glucose, you're going to have more ketones, which is basically the brain's fuel when you're fasting. So it's really simple. If you haven't already, read this book called Smarter Not Harder by Dave Asprey. Like, write it down, grab a piece of paper and write it down. You can also write down the things that I'm saying in this video. So I'm going to write that down. Smarter, not, I don't know if you can see this, harder, yes. This is a really great book. So if you haven't already, read this one. If you don't want to fast, like a lot of people don't, I certainly don't want to fast most days, because it's really kind of like it's kind of tiring to be fasting like all the time, you know. I recently completed Ramadan because I'm a Muslim, and basically fasting for 30 days is like, it's really exhausting, as you might know. So whenever I was like finished with Ramadan, I haven't fasted for like one and a half months now, because I just feel that like I don't bother, you know. So what you should do to have better mental cognition, you should eat breakfast, because this enhances your sleep later on. I've been talking about this in the sleep video that I made previous, but you need to be eating some small breakfast in the morning. Basically, you have eggs, or you have ground beef, or you have like avocados and coffee, and you have a little bit of honey maybe, and like you cook it in butter or coconut oil as well. And this is really going to like improve your focus. At least it does for me. You know, if I eat breakfast, I go maybe do a little like activity to have it better like digested before I sit down and do my work. that is like massive. I'm basically improving my workout later on in the day. I'm improving my sleep later on in the day, and I'm improving my focus as well. So if you can do this, and you will experience better focus, better sleep, and better strength inside the gym. Because eating breakfast is like, it's not really that bad for energy and focus like most people say. Yeah, sure, if you eat a big meal like right when you wake up, that could be bad, but if you eat a small protein and fat heavy breakfast, it's going to be fine for you, and you kind of stay away from carbs like grains and all of that stuff like that is fucking up your life basically. Yeah, so what you want to do if you want to have great energy, and if you want to have great sleep as well, that you want to have you want a cortisol max. Cortisol, I don't even know if you can see this. Let's go to full. Cortisol max. Max. This is super great for sleep. It's great for your workout later on in the day, and it's great for focus as well. If you have a bunch of cortisol right when you wake up, for example, when you wake up, you immediately go out for a sprint or you jog because you're a fucking estrogen maxer, and I will get into that into another video. But basically, you want to sprint instead of jog. You do that, and you take a cold shower. You eat some breakfast. You drink coffee. Every one of these activities is basically going to fuel you up with even more cortisol, which is going to remove leftover melatonin in your bloodstream, which is going to make you more awake. So this is what you want to do. You want to have as much cortisol in your blood as possible when you wake up. If you do this, and you do this combined with having a good set like consistent sleeping routine, you're also going to have a bunch of cortisol in the morning. But basically you want to have a bunch of cortisol in the morning to wake you up, which is then going to make you able to fall asleep later in the day, because you have exhausted all of your cortisol in the body. You're not going to have any cortisol later on in the day, and this is why like it's good to do all of these activities in the morning. Have your workout, have your coffee, have your cold shower, have your sprints and all of that, right? You get the point. Doing this will also increase your focus for the next couple of hours, because you're going to have a higher dopamine baseline, which is going to improve your focus, and you're going to have better sleep, and like a bunch of like different effects from this. So just do this. And as I also talked about before, I think I'm going to remove this because you don't really need it now. The one thing that I talked a little bit about before is nutrients. If you don't have nutrients, basically when you're fasting, you're not going to be fasting at all. You're just going to be fucking killing yourself. So you want to have nutrients. Why do you want to have nutrients? Well, when you have nutrients, you're basically optimizing every function in your body, and you're making it more efficient. So I will write this down: nutrients. Nutrients. Great. So what was I talking about? If you have nutrients, you're basically going to optimize every single function in your body. Because if you're lacking, let's say, copper in a specific part of your body, in your thyroid or something like that, you're basically going to have to pull minerals from a different source of the body to kind of leave minerals from that place, from, for example, your heart, let's say, or your liver. You're leaving copper from the liver and to get it like to your thyroid instead. So basically you have one mineral that is functioning for thyroid. You need copper to have a functioning thyroid. Let's say that you don't have sufficient copper. You're instead of now dragging iron from a different part of the body to kind of have that same function as copper did in this other organ. If this makes sense, I hope it does. And what you're doing now is you're having one function that is less optimal for that specific organ. You're having one like specific nutrient that is less optimal for that thing. So basically, you have a mineral imbalance now. You basically have a mineral imbalance, and you're literally like, you're kind of losing energy in the body because of this. I don't know if it's kind of hard to, I know it's kind of hard to like maybe understand what I'm saying, but basically if you don't have like certain minerals, you're going to have to like lose more energy because of it. Your body is going to be less efficient. And this is going to actually hurt your focus quite a bit. I know it did for me. Because when I started to eat like this whole food diet that is great for like focus and all of that, that actually has all the nutrients that you need in your body, my focus just started to improve so damn much. I could sit and work for like 4 hours in a row without a break. I could never do that before. I could work like maybe 2 hours, and it just becomes so great when I had a like diet that supports all of the things that my body needs. And this is kind of the first time that I'm actually talking about what kind of foods that you should include in your diet, because you need to know these things before you talk about diet, And you already know that fasting is dependent on fat. Basically, you need to be dependent on fat, and if you don't have the right nutrients, you are going to suffer. Your mental clarity is going to suffer. Your focus is going to suffer. So when you have all the nutrients that you need, you improve your energy in the body, you improve your focus, you improve your sleep, you improve your training, and this goes on to become a upward spiral in the body. So nutrients is great. And what kind of nutrients do you need, and what kind of diet should you have to support all of these things? Because you want to have a diet that is good for everything. And I'm going to drop this now because I feel like like this YouTube video has been like a big like cliffhanger all the time, But the kind of diet that you need to have is a diet that consists of all nutrients. All nutrients, bam. It needs to consist of a big amount of protein because you're active. Protein. It needs to consist of medium to low amount of carbs. My computer is turned off. Protein, carbs, and of course fat for your fasting things. What kind of diets does this support? All of the diets, basically. But where is the best sources? Because you cannot only think about this. You cannot only think about protein. You cannot only think about carbs. You cannot only think about fat. So what you need to focus on instead, because all diets have this. All diets have protein, carbs, and fat in good amounts that is like great for the body. So what you need to do is you need to focus on a diet containing minerals, boom, and vitamins. If you have this, you're basically not going to drain any energy at all. And what nutrients has the most nutrient dense like foods? Well, it is. Now I'm going to drop it, guys. I'm going to drop it. The paleo diet. The paleo diet. This is the best diet and has the most nutrients of all the diets. And yes, you need to be using paleo diet if you want to have the best focus possible. It supports your fasting, it supports your training, it supports your sleep, it supports your focus, and it basically supports everything in the best way possible because you're getting the most amount of nutrients. You're improving your testosterone as well, which is a great thing for improving your competitive spirit. Do I need to tell you what paleo diet is? I feel like most people know that. But it basically is... I'm going to remove this again. The paleo diet is basically having a bunch of fruits, having a bunch of animal products, and basically eating no grains at all, because grains literally drain your energy because of seed poison, well, plant poisons. So, paleo, paleo, meow. Yes, arrow, arrows are great. Paleo fruits, fruit, 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 meat. Meat you're going to have to eat. I eat meat almost every single day in some form. Chicken. This is less optimal, so meat is the greatest. Or also fish and eggs. Eggs is what I eat every single day as well. Meat and eggs every single day to improve your testosterone and focus, because it contains like the most amount of nutrients. I eat some dairy as well, but dairy, but the thing I do is that I eat it raw. If you don't have raw dairy, you're basically going to be like, if you don't have raw dairy, you're basically removing all of the nutrients that you get from dairy, and you're removing most of the benefits of dairy as well. You know, whenever you're like heating up food so much, this goes with steak, it goes with eggs as well. You don't want to cook your food that much. You want to cook it like so it, for the eggs, so it coagulates, like it becomes like soft. It's still like soft, but it's like it becomes like white, and it becomes, you see it's like ready to eat, right? You don't want to cook it more than that, because then you're basically destroying all the nutrients. The same with meat. You don't really want to have anything more than medium rare whenever you're eating a steak, because you're destroying the nutrient content, and you're basically removing the benefits of having a steak. You know, you're eating the steaks because, and the eggs, because of its high nutritional content. And the same goes with raw dairy. If you heat up your dairy, like having quote unquote low pasteurized dairy, is basically you're heating up to 72 degrees. And what you're doing then is you're basically killing 90% or 80% of the bacteria, I think. But you're removing a big majority of the nutrients inside the milk. You're removing a bunch of enzymes. You're removing like the most bioavailable forms of nutrients there is inside a milk, and you're removing like this probiotic like juice that is so great for your body, basically. So you don't want to heat up your food at all. And this is basically the whole paleo diet. I also add some sweet potato every once in a while, sweet pot, and regular potato as well. Pop, pop, put, put, and rice as well. Rice for good carb sources. Yes. And when you do this, like I basically have all kinds of fruits. I have these types of protein sources. Yeah, this one as well, of course. And this is like my main carb sources: sweet potato, potatoes, and rice. I never really have any pasta because I feel really bad when eating pasta, you know. My brain is just fucked. You want to have a big amount of protein in your diet because you want to support all bodily functions. You want to have collagen based protein. So you don't really want to have like lentils or like beans. No beans, you know, beans. Cross over that. You don't want to have beans because it contains plant poisons. Plant poisons has become a greater deal than they actually are online. They aren't actually as bad as most people say they are. They can be bad if you are allergic to lectins, to phytates, and oxalates. But most people aren't. I think it's like 1/3 of people are allergic to these kind of substances. So it isn't really a big deal if you eat like beans and lentils, but you still should try to avoid them because the nutrients aren't really that bioavailable. And what are you eating it for? To have like bigger forts? Like, no. You won't have the most optimal foods for your business. You don't want to stay like you don't want to spend all your day eating as well. So why not just optimize your diet and eat the best foods possible for your, like, for your brain, for your gut, for your training, for your sleep, for your testosterone, for your training, when you can do that. Like, it's basically so easy. You can eat like a bowl of rice together with eggs or ground beef or fish and have like a little bit of sauce on it. Doesn't really matter. Have a banana, a apple before your workout, and you're going to have a great workout together with to improve testosterone, improved sleep, and like this is so tasty as well. Do I even need to tell you that meat is tasty? No.